Tourism Group will be purchasing Carlson Rezidor Hotel Group. The due diligence is underway, the closing is underway, and we hope to close the deal in the fourth quarter of this calendar year, 2016. I think for us, irrespective of the transaction and the new ownership, I think for us, Australia is going to have a very large importance going forward. We currently have 3 hotels in Australia. We're present with the Radisson Hotel in Melbourne. We're here in Sydney, obviously, with Radisson Blu, where we're here today. And also Radisson Suites. On top of that, we have a property in Fiji and are looking to construct a second property there due to open in 2018. So we already have a footprint in the region and like to obviously leverage on that. Earlier in 2016, hired a dedicated development resource, who was part of my team to ultimately venture out and engage more actively with the development and investor community here. Basically, the result of the last 6 months has already been that we've tripled our lead pipeline. As we look at 2017 and beyond, I think the new ownership obviously is a very exciting step for us. H&A Group is not new to Australia. You might have seen recent announcements in regards to their proposed, investment in Virgin Australia. Hainan Airlines, which is one of the airlines that they own, is due to commence flights between China and Australia come this September. So very exciting times from that perspective, and I think our interests in terms of the importance of Australia are very much aligned. I think it'll be a combination, but I think primarily it will be new build opportunities. As you know, we have a shortage of rooms in most parts of Australia. When you look at the market performance in Sydney or Melbourne with occupancies obviously in the 80-85% range, it's clear that the country is missing a lot of stock. I think if you look at some of the regional markets, while these regional markets have hotel supply, in many cases it's old, it's outdated, and I think is also due for a refresh. We're not yet a very large-scale player in Australia. While 3 hotels is a humble portfolio, we still have a huge desire to be in some of those markets with more than 1 or 2 brands. It's not just about having one hotel in one market, but it's actually then to build on that with different types of positioning to attract different kind of travelers in the same city. I think our second priority is then to ultimately venture out from those 4 or 5 capital cities. Our overall model is that of a management model. We tend to work with developers and owners who are either renovating or refurbing their existing hotel and want to reflag that to a Carlson Rezidor flag, or we're working with developers who have obtained land and permission to build a hotel, and then we'll work side by side with them to actually construct a new hotel. And then as an operator of the hotel, of course, we're responsible to put the strategy together, to put the team together, and then ultimately execute on that strategy on behalf and with the owner. I think the biggest phenomena in our industry, maybe over the last 5 or so years from a demand perspective, is obviously the fact that Chinese outbound market has grown so rapidly. I think no one quite expected that to happen that quickly, because initially I think the government seemed quite restrictive and hesitant. I can speak of experience because I lived myself for 9 years in China and I've seen it on the ground. But I think that has changed very rapidly. Flights were put in place and people were actually able to travel. So if you look at some of the Asian destinations today, many of which have China ranked number 1. So it's not that it just come from zero and has grown, but it's actually come from nothing and has become the number 1 source market in many, many destinations in Asia. And I think that, for instance, is a huge trend. We have to adapt and adopt to that kind of clientele. I think on the one hand, we need to make sure that this type of travel is well taken care of. I think, especially we as a company moving forward under our new ownership, right? H&A Group, as you may know, not only owns Hainan Airlines and many other airlines, but has many travel agencies in China, has an outbound business. And so we're hoping to take advantage of the outbound market going forward. The other trend I see, I think, is just a trend where customers and businesses relate to each other a lot more. With that comes the need to invest in technology. I think that whole notion of how close you need to be to your customer and customer loyalty, I think is going to be a big issue, even a bigger issue going forward. And we as a company are investing around $30 million this year to improve our digital platform. It's for us to make sure that we're building the right relationship and the right communication channel with our customers. I don't think it's a question about with or without OTAs. I think when you look at our business, we have lots of different channels or sources of demand and distribution channels, how that source of demand is coming to our hotel. And I think all of them will remain valid. But the question is not only which channel they're going to use to get to you. I think in the first instance, it's important that they understand who you are, what you do, what does your brand stand for, what can they expect when they come and stay with you, irrespective of the channel. It's more about what is your brand equity, what is your brand promise. And I think that kind of communication, I think, will be very, very important going forward. All of our hotels are very much looking to venture with local businesses to then ultimately offer the guests an authentic experience. I think it's especially true in Australia, because I think Australia has so much to offer. And I think you'll see going forward more and more Asians coming to Australia to actually wanting to have a very authentic experience. And like I referenced earlier, I think they will then also be keen to venture out from the capital cities and see even more of what this country has to offer. So I think maybe it's a little bit early to say. I know my 12-year-old has just asked me for permission to use it, and I think he's enjoying it very much. How that can be used going forward as a business, I'm uncertain at this stage. It's been a big hype for 3 weeks, but I don't quite know what is the next step.